Revvo is the phone in my home.
It's the one I can afford.
Revvo gives me lower LD.
And you know it gives me more.
I get local calls for free, and I can win big prizes too. Revvo makes my family rejoice. Revvo is the choice for me.
Your new home phone is here. Sign up for Revvo today, and you can win great weekly prizes and a brand new Honda CR-V from Nassau Motor Company. Get Revvo home phone for as low as $14.99 a month. Call us at 601-8992 or visit us online at cablebahamas.com/Revvo. Rejoice this Christmas with Revvo.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned in to MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, why the government may no longer pursue the buyback of BTC, plus the story of an elderly woman living in destitution and how you can help. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. The government is eager to conclude talks with cable and wireless communications over the possible renationalization of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company early next year. Prime Minister Perry Christie says it needs to happen sooner rather than later because neither side wants to budge from its original position. Well, negotiations have suspended for the holidays, but Christie says if this continues, the government's negotiation team will be disbanded. Vonique Toot has more.
Following months of talks between government's negotiating team and executives from cable and wireless communications, Prime Minister Perry Christie revealed today that the two sides have reached an impasse.
You reach a point in your discussions where you're talking to each other and making no headway. So clearly I would have to thank early in the new year the persons who agreed to represent the Bahamas in the talks. And meet with them with a view to determining when they are discontinued.
Cable and Wireless bought 51% of BTC's shares in April 2011. However, Christie vowed to regain the majority share if the Progressive Liberal Party won the May 7th general election. Negotiations were suspended for the holidays. The Prime Minister expects officials to meet early next year. But if the two sides remain fixed in their positions, he says there is no point in continuing.
The only concern I would evidence at this stage is that we have to reach a conclusion on our talks sooner rather than later. And whatever that conclusion is, we have to, so that the government of the Bahamas can in fact review whatever options are available to the government. And so as the minister who's been leading this these negotiations, I would have to speak to my colleagues about our options and then indicate what those options are.
Mr. Christie says he feels a shift in ownership would be more beneficial for cable and wireless. However, CWC has made it clear it wants to retain its majority interest in BTC and has no intention of selling its Bahamian assets. The Prime Minister feels that's something the telecoms provider needs to justify.
2013 should be a big year in the sense that 2013 leads into 2014 when we're going to liberalize the service. And I'm still suffering today, just as a subscriber to BTC, when I'm driving in a car, all of a sudden in the middle of a conversation, I'm talking to myself. And so I presume that they're going to justify their having 51% by fixing that problem, but it's a vexing problem. Bahamians got to be justifiably angry about it.
Now, government officials have also been in talks with Digicel about the possibility of that telecoms giant entering the Bahamian market. Prime Minister Christie says he would like to continue talks with Digicel representatives.
I have high on my agenda the need to talk with them because I really would want to talk with them about how Digicel will come into the country in terms of the ownership of Digicel.
The Prime Minister has said he has several ideas on how our telecom sector can benefit from Digicel's presence. However, government has to tread lightly on this matter because of its minority stake in BTC. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
Well, the recent Moody's downgrade will force government to scale down multi-million-dollar upgrades planned for the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. However, Prime Minister Christie made it clear that money will be invested into the force to ensure its effectiveness. He was responding to reports that government has scrapped plans to invest $200 million in the Defense Force.
The former government actually had engaged in negotiations and discussions with boat builders. We have continued those discussions, and the question really is now affordability, whether or not there can be the kind of terms that will enable us to effect the purchases we would wish and really not have to put a great outlay of cash. We are going to be driven by the need for us to be prudent, but at the same time we know we cannot render the Defense Force to be an ineffective force.
In August, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage said it would cost the government $200 million to acquire 11 new vessels and to dredge waters near the Coral Harbor base to accommodate a larger fleet. Christie says $200 million is a notional figure, adding that a lot of thought has gone into cost-cutting measures.
And a lot of effort has gone into thinking about it and even encouraging the shipbuilder to consider the possibility of building one of the ships here in the shipyard in Freeport. So a lot of thought has gone into it, and a lot of effort towards minimizing the costs, being able to get the Bahamas to benefit from the fact that we are purchasing those ships to be built. And so I expect at the end of the day that we'll be doing some things.
And in other news tonight, this afternoon, police brought charges against two young men they say went on an armed robbery spree targeting tourists. 20-year-old Gamble Heights resident Stephen Green and 19-year-old Flamingo Gardens resident Anthony Green stood before Chief Magistrate Roger Gomez to answer to 7 charges, all related to armed robberies that took place over the past month and a half. It's alleged that the two broke into a Wyndham Nassau Resort hotel room belonging to Joseph Martino on Sunday, November 11th. Police allege they robbed Martino of almost $11,000 worth of travelers' checks and 2 Rolex watches. They were also charged with causing grievous harm to another tourist, Michael Kowalski, on December 13th. It's alleged they used a knife to rob Kowalski of his iPod and $40 in cash. And the duo was also charged with using a taser to rob Jeremy Hughes of $60 cash on November 20th. On that same day, police say they also used a taser to rob Kate Safran of a $5,000 Chanel watch. Anthony Green alone was charged with receiving that watch. Both pleaded not guilty to the felony charges. They were remanded to Her Majesty's prison until May 15th, 2013, when they will return to court to have a voluntary bill of indictment served to them. Now, switching gears, imagine living in a rat-infested home with no running water and barely being able to meet your monthly bills. Well, for the past 3 years, that's been one 84-year-old woman's reality. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
While many residents will celebrate the holidays in beautifully decorated homes, there is one resident in 129 Commonwealth Boulevard who will need a Christmas miracle of her own. 84-year-old Beryl Moss has been living in her Elizabeth Estates home for the past 27 years, but the home is hardly fit for living. Before you enter, the scent of urine is pronounced. Once inside, you can see the holes in the walls, the doors falling off cabinets in the kitchen, the fact that there are no utensils, dining room chairs were missing seats, and the dirt that covered the floor. There are also slop buckets in the bathroom, but the inside of this dilapidated home hasn't always been in this rundown state. Moss, who has no children of her own, says her troubles first began 3 years ago after she began having issues with her back and eyes.
Oh, I used to keep a beautiful house, beautiful yard and everything, but after I get sick, like I can't do.
Today, Moss says she barely scrapes by with her monthly pension checks. Moss shares the home with a disabled relative and her 2 young children. Moss says her home is infested with rats and has since had to move the mattress from the back bedroom to the living room.
When you're seeing here, I had bathroom for CS.
Now a team visited Moss from the Urban Renewal Office yesterday, and officials there say they plan to take immediate action moving her out of the home while they make much-needed repairs. Until then, Moss says she's relying on faith to get her through these tough times.
But I'm walking kind of crippled, but I'm asking God to help me,
Now, if you'd like to help, contact the Elizabeth Estates Urban Renewal Office. For NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.